exactly happened last evening, and we have some more breaking inputs coming in at this point in time. As per Kpler, the oil tanker traffic through Strait of Hormuz is down about 90%. This is the latest update that we are getting for you. Kpler is an energy market intelligence firm, and it actually gives us a sense of what's really happening in the energy market. And right now, as far as Strait of Hormuz is concerned, the oil tanker traffic has plunged about 90% since the outbreak of the US-Israeli attacks on Iran. Iranian military officials have said they have completely choked off traffic through the waterway that a fifth of the world's crude oil supplies transit. And Kpler, in fact, has said that some are still risking the trip. My colleague Shrinjit Chaudhary also joining us live right now, and our guests continue to be with us as well. Colonel Mahesh Ramachandran, now, you know, it's a very precarious situation that we are witnessing right now. Let's specifically focus on what's happening around the Strait of Hormuz. Now, oil tanker traffic in Hormuz is down about 90%. It's significant. Iranians clearly have given this warning that if any ship tries to cross over to the other side, then, you know, that ship could be attacked. We have US President Donald Trump also saying that, you know, US Navy is going to escort the tankers. I mean, clearly it's easier said than done. He's also said that the war insurance coverage will be provided to the ships at a much reasonable price. But right now, the situation is quite grim there. Your assessment?
Yeah, so Marina, firstly, what Israel and US thought would be a T20 match is refusing to end. It's probably an extended test series and even beyond. And just a quick one on the Minuteman 3, I respectfully disagree with what Sira said. This is not a message to China. This is a message to Iran that you try something like a dirty bomb or any nuclear misadventure, then Tehran will be the next Hiroshima. And like General Dillon correctly said, the world can do without it. Now, coming down to the Straits of Hormuz, again, this is panning out as expected because this was bound to happen. But the question is, who is going to break the deadlock? You know, for Iran to completely cut off the Straits of Hormuz is also a double-edged sword because a lot of their revenue come from their oil exports through the Straits. So it is now the onus is completely on the United States of America and their coalition partners to break this deadlock and to ensure that the world is not starved of fuel or the fuel prices will go up. I mean, $100 billion, $100 to barrel of crude will definitely happen. As far as India is concerned, when we claim that we have about 70 to 80 days of crude reserves, our consumption is about $5 million a day, and based on that, there are adequate reserves. But at least for the short term, you can see there is going to be a crude crisis, there is going to be an oil crisis, and I'll say it again that the US will have to do something and break this stranglehold.
Okay, whether it'll actually happen or not, of course, that remains to be seen. And we will be discussing this aspect with my other guests as well. But before that, let's also tell our viewers a little bit about how the current situation is around the Strait of Hormuz. Now, viewers, what is important to understand is that the war risk coverage has been cancelled by marine insurers for the ships that are already there. So right now, the update is that there is no war risk coverage for ships from today onwards. This comes into effect from today. Now, why it is a nightmare for all the ships? Because they can't really move to the other side. So they are just stranded there. So what happens next? Shipping companies will need now new insurance cover. Remember, US President Donald Trump has said that, you know, he'll provide, he'll ask the, insurance, in fact, a company to also see that if at reasonable prices coverage can be provided. But will it happen for all the ships that are stranded? Of course, that can't really happen. But, you know, how is that going to really pan out? That remains to be seen. But the impact is significant. Because of this, the cost of shipping oil from Gulf is set to spike, which is definitely not a good news for countries like India. India is the third biggest importer of oil, and a lot of our oil requirement is met by the Middle East that passes through this particular Strait of Hormuz. In fact, right now, as per reports, the war risk premium is up by about 1% of the value of the ship in the last 48 hours. So this is the reason why it is a cause of huge concern. Let's go back to our guests who continue to be with us at this point in time. Kpler, now, it's a cause of concern. Of course, Donald Trump did mention that, he's going to ensure that the tankers get U.S. naval escort. There's going to be war risk coverage at a reasonable price. But we don't really see that happening. I mean, how is that really going to happen? Was it just a point that he made, or do you actually see it happening on the ground? Because, yesterday there were also some unconfirmed reports suggesting that Iran has allowed tankers for China to, pass through Strait of Hormuz. There are going to be no problems with ships that are moving towards China.
Right. Well, Iran and China have a relationship with the oil. China's been getting discounted oil from Iran for years, and I'm sure that they've issued messages to the leadership, and Iran doesn't really have a choice in that matter, most likely. But in terms of what President Trump said, it's absolutely going to happen. The insurance announcement that he made are already going into effect. So I'm sure it'll take a couple days to, he just made the announcement. So it'll take a couple days for people to get the information, the shipping companies and all of that. But it's absolutely going to happen. And as you mentioned, the naval escorts as well. Again, that's a logistical thing that needs to be worked out. As you talked about, it can't be for every ship, probably, but I think that their goal is to, get the key ships through and make sure that the closure of the Strait of Hormuz is not such a ripple effect as it would have been, in past times, because we actually have taken out so much of their Navy already that what people thought was going to happen with the closure is much less than it would have been previously.
Okay. Colonel Mahesh Ramachandran, as per reports again, Trump administration has tapped the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation, or DFC, for this after President Trump made that announcement. Now, according to the reports, this agency is likely to provide political risk insurance to all shipping lines. Can you explain to us what this really means? I mean, does it mean that even for ships that are supposed to come to India will be benefiting? I mean, will it be, for all the ships that are stranded right now? How will it work in your opinion?
Look, Hina, frankly, this one baffles me actually. You can give insurance cover, you can increase the premium, decrease the premium. But the point is, how do you give assurance? How do you give the assurance of safety? Knowing fully well, that ship can well be blown up, as we've seen some tankers being actually blown up off the straits. So I'm not too sure that facilitating a higher, a better insurance deal will actually solve the problem, because it's like I mean, even if it is oversimplifying it, it's like who would actually? It's like jumping off the cliff and saying that, look, I have a lot of insurance for it. No, I don't. I'm not too sure this insurance thing is going to work.
Okay, Lieutenant General KJS Dhillon, your thoughts on what kicks in from today? No longer the ships that are stranded right now will have the war risk coverage.
Ma'am, that is how the insurance companies play. There's a high probability of a ship being sunk or destroyed or damaged. They would back out. Okay. And I agree with Colonel Mahesh Ramachandran that getting higher insurance does not mean that you lose an asset. Imagine a shipping company losing a ship on, say, 1st of January or 5th of March, and then getting the insurance by another 3 months, say by 5th of June or so, and then ordering a newer ship to a shipbuilding company by about July or August, and they give the delivery next March. It's not that their insurance has made up for their loss. Who is going to make up for that 1 year loss which they're going to lose their business, which they're going to lose their contracts, which they're going to lose their promises to the clients. So it's not that simple. And then escorting a merchant ship through the Strait of Hormuz, just about 30 odd miles wide, I have stood on the southern tip of Strait of Hormuz personally, and I've flown over Hormuz in a helicopter. The speedboats from Iran to Oman, they traverse every day carrying the smuggled items. And a torpedo speedboat in that area at that range within about 10 to 12 miles is a very, very, very big probability to hit any merchant ship. And we only had one incident. So a navy escorting a merchant ship is also risking itself to this low level of attacks. And the merchant ship, if the Iranians want to hit it, they will always hit it. And they have done it in the Iran-Iraq war. They mined the Hormuz and they blocked the Hormuz. There are various means to block the traffic in Hormuz. And unless the Iranians are on board, I don't see any way the Hormuz traffic can be normal, especially when there are risks of physical damage to the ships. No shipping company will risk it.
Absolutely. And also there are people who are involved. This will also lead to loss of lives if these ships carrying oil are targeted. And also an interesting point you made there. I mean, will Iranians really agree to something like this, especially after what Americans have done with their warship in the Indian Ocean yesterday? I mean, that's the point I'd like to take across to my other guests as well. But for now, we have to quickly